Hello everyone! This is Running on Empty Food Review. Well, hello ladies, gentlemen, and everyone watching. Welcome one and all to this newest edition of Running on Empty Food Review series. I'm your host, the Report of the Week. I am excited. As a matter of fact, it transcends excitement. This is practically a dream come true. And I'm at the point I almost can't even physically contain myself. So if you see me just flip the table over and just start going crazy, it is what it is. International travel. It's one of those things that I'm sure all of us think about to, one extent or another, right? We'll sometimes think about some faraway place and we'll think, what if, right? What if one day I could go over there and I could see the sights, try the food, just experience it, take it all in. But sometimes, let's be honest, it could be a hassle, right? It could be cost prohibitive, the airports, the flights, organizing the itinerary, right? All that could be stressful. It could be hectic. It could be overwhelming, overbearing. In my case, I'm here in the United States. South Korea is quite a ways away. And the other night I was thinking about South Korea. I was thinking, what if, right? What if? Maybe one of these days. But that, at the time, was just a thought, It was just something that I was just thinking about. It wasn't a reality. And then what happens today? What happens when I check to see what the latest fast food releases are? Shake Shack has released their new Korean-style menu. This is a dream come true. I said to myself, you know what? Forget any sort of trip. I could just go down the street right now and experience a taste of South Korea at Shake Shack. Really, it is a dream come true. They have released at least 2 Korean-style items. A chicken sandwich, and a burger. And yes, I'm going way over the top with the introduction here, and that is intentional. Nonetheless, this is an interesting item, though, I'll be honest. I have fun with these sorts of things sometimes, but it's a unique-looking item, and I am looking forward to trying it out. Today I'm going to be trying out the chicken sandwich, because I've seen the chicken sandwich get the most promotion. That seems to be the one that's advertised most heavily. The burger, it gets some talk, but again, everyone's talking about the chicken sandwich. I got it right here. That's what we'll be trying out in tonight's review. Shake Shack's Korean-style fried chicken sandwich. So what exactly is on it? What makes it Korean-style? Well, here's what there is to know about it. It features a crispy white meat chicken fillet. That's the base. It has a spicy and sweet Gochujang Glaze. I'm sorry if I got the pronunciation of that wrong. I tried, though, to get it right, not to get it wrong. Has a spicy and sweet glaze, it has sesame seeds, and it also has a kimchi slaw on top of it as well. So it has some of these flavor combinations that they describe as authentically South Korean, and of course, we will see. But it's had mixed reviews based on what I have seen. Some people really like it. Some people hate it. Some people feel it's, somewhere in the middle. I'm not one to get Shake Shack all that often. I've gotten them from time to time, but in the years, I guess, that I've tried Shake Shack, there have been some good items and there have been some bad items. And if my memory serves me correct, one of the last items I tried out from Shake Shack was horrible. And it was really disappointing. It was this burger. It was just god-awful. And we will see. We'll see how this one is. One thing that I should mention that, if anything, I can't say I'm the happiest about, is the price. This sandwich, by itself, just the sandwich, so this isn't a meal, $11. That's how much it cost. $11 just for the sandwich by itself. And a lot of people say that Shake Shack is a bit overpriced, and truth be told, $11 for this sandwich, and it is not the world's biggest sandwich either. That's a bit disappointing. But nonetheless, going to try it out, of course, and then that'll be that. Comes in a little box right there. You could see there's a hot dog with some toothpaste on it. It's about to get real. And let's see. Oh, I could really smell the glaze. Yeah, you could really see it. It's definitely thoroughly coated. You could see some of the sesame seeds as well. Getting a little close-up right there. Yeah, definitely I could already smell the glaze. All right. I think that's all that there really is to say about it. I think you know what's on it. I know what's on it. And now we'll see what it tastes like. It is the Korean-style fried chicken sandwich from Shake Shack going in. Sorry for cutting the eating segment out this time around. I just wanted to make sure I had enough time to really discuss this. So before I get into the assessment, I'm actually going to have to get up because you'll see, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but you'll see the glaze, really, definitely gets on your hands a bit. It's one of those sorts of glazes that's sticky, too, so I have to go and wash my hands right now because a standard napkin or cloth will not do, so I will be right back. All right, now with certified clean hands, let's get into this. So, this is one of those items that's interesting, but to be straightforward, this is one of those items that likewise, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily crazy about it, but I don't hate it either. To me, it has some good characteristics, but then it also has some things that kind of I either feel are lacking, or maybe I wish were emphasized a bit more. And again, there were certain expectations that were met or exceeded, and there were some that really weren't. So again, let's get into it. First and foremost, I don't know, what do you think? Should we start with the good or the bad, or just go through it all? Guess we'll go with the good first. So, generally speaking, my favorite thing about this is the glaze, and that, I would say, is the most prominent flavor in this as well. You definitely taste it in every single bite, and I think that was overwhelmingly apparent even just upon visual examination of this, because you could see that the chicken fillet was thoroughly coated. I could smell it. I could tell that it was going to be potent, and I most definitely could taste it, and it left its mark, but that was probably the best thing about this. It's a very enjoyable glaze, and I think it hits just the right note as far as the spiciness, as well as this little sweetness that it has likewise. The way I notice it, the spice hits you first this time around. It's not overwhelming, mind you. Sort of like moderate, I would say. And it does linger a little bit as well. But it's pleasant, it's a flavorful spice, and then it has this nice sweet note that then comes in a little later. and the sweet note is not as persistent as the spice is, but it complements it quite nicely, and both notes of this glaze likewise complement the chicken. And again, that's probably the best part of this. The glaze is enjoyable, there's a good amount of it, and it really carries this sandwich, if you ask me. But then to everything else. So number one, the quality of the chicken. For the most part, it's okay. But there were a couple weird things about it, which, this is one of those things that I'm not going to make a big deal out of because it's not, again, it's not the end of the world or anything like that. But if you could see on the cross-section here, the chicken fillet was just strange, texturally. So it was like there was this flat sort of fillet right there, but then half of it is more like pulled chicken that's kind of molded into a sort of patty, and as a result, when I took a bite out of it, out of this area, it sort of just fell apart and made it a little difficult to eat, because I bit in, and then it was like the chicken fillet just totally disintegrated, which I wasn't expecting at all. I was expecting it to have, some firmness and consistency, and I guess this is just the way that they do things at Shake Shack, but I was just expecting a little more structure, I suppose, because again, when I bit in, and it just fell apart completely, and half of it just fell back into the box, and it was just bizarre. I just was not expecting that. So, the chicken itself tasted all right for the most part. It was a bit on the salty side, though, and that goes for the chicken itself, not the glaze, but the chicken actually was just it was more salty than I wish that it should have been, in my opinion. I wish that it were less salty, I'm trying to say, because that glaze also has a little bit of saltiness, but the chicken itself is just a bit too much sodium, if you ask me. So, the chicken is so-so. I could live with it, I could deal with it, but is this the perfect chicken fillet? Far from it. And I guess that was a little disappointing. But the other thing that disappointed me, I think more so, was the kimchi slaw. The sad thing about that is that I couldn't really taste much of it. I was really hoping that there would be a much more prominent note to it and that it would be more flavorful than it actually happened to be. Because what I noticed is that I couldn't really taste any of it. It was just very, very weak as far as the flavor was concerned. I couldn't really notice it at all. Texturally, I could notice the difference, of course, but as far as any flavor of its own, it was really just missing in action. And that's disappointing. Again, as nice as the glaze is, that's pretty much the only thing you could really taste, that and some of the saltiness of the chicken, which again was also falling apart. And then another issue, as the chicken was falling apart, the breading was just sliding right off as well. And I know that just happens sometimes, but again, I was just hoping to enjoy it in a more complete manner. And I've had this happen before, but I just wish that it was a little more structured in that regard, so I could just take a bite, experience all the ingredients just at once, rather than bite in, have it fall apart, have the breading slide off, then taste it being a bit overly salty as far as the chicken goes, but enjoying the glaze, but then not being able to taste the kimchi. And is it acceptable? Sure, it's okay, but it's not one of these items that makes me think, yeah, this was $11 well spent. Oh yeah, I can't wait to go back here and buy this again. From now on, I'm just going to go and eat this sandwich exclusively until they discontinue it or anything like that. There's definitely some things that could have been better about this. So, that's disappointing. Really, the more I think about it, the only thing this really has going is the glaze. And that's it. If it weren't for that glaze, I don't think I would really give this a good review. Then I would be saying, the chicken is weird, it's disappointing, it's overly salty, I can't taste the kimchi. The sesame seeds are just there as a decorative addition for the most part, so I can't really taste those at all. The bun, at least, at least there's some structure to that. The bun is soft, it's chewy, but the bun is fine for what it is, so I guess that's another plus. It's good on the bun. But yeah, it has its positives and its negatives, and if it weren't for how good that glaze is, I would say otherwise, that the negatives would outweigh any positives. So this is like a middle-of-the-road sort of item. If you get this, understand that the glaze is where all the action is. That is the single best part of this sandwich. Everything else, don't count on it. If it's better than this, that's excellent, but do not count on it. And don't count to, despite how good the glaze is, don't expect to feel some sort of relief or satisfaction at the fact that you spent $11 on this. I think it's very overpriced, if you ask me. Again, Shake Shack has a bit of a reputation for that, but disappoints me. I don't think this was $11 well spent. It's an average sandwich at best. Again, I always appreciate these sorts of establishments trying something new, branching out a bit, and trying some different flavors. And again, that glaze has potential, no doubt. But the kimchi, the fact that it was barely discernible, was disappointing to me. And the quality of the chicken left a lot to be desired, because again, I don't want to just sit here and, have a little bowl of glaze and dip the bun in it and just enjoy that. I want it to complement the chicken. I want the chicken itself to be good enough that it doesn't require this glaze to just drag it across the finish line. The fact that the chicken was so overly salty, that sort of worries me a little bit, because I've had some really bad experiences before with items that seem a bit too salty. So fingers crossed there. And yeah, it has some positives, it has some negatives. I guess the fact of the matter is that it kind of cancels out somewhere in the middle, but definitely some room for improvement is needed. And they've got a good base. They need to work on the chicken a little bit. They need to really work on the kimchi, but keep the glaze where it is. They did a great job with that, but does need some improvement elsewhere. And again, it is too overpriced for my liking. So, therefore, out of 10, not the best, but not the worst. Has some good qualities, some bad qualities as well. And yeah, needs some work, but I'd say it's still interesting for what it is. It's something different from the usual again. So I would say if you have a Shake Shack in your neck of the woods, you want to try it while it's here, maybe go down, give it a shot. This is one of those items, I think, that it's like, may as well get it once just to say you got it, see how it is, etc., and then call it a day at that. So therefore, out of 10, I'm going to give the Shake Shack Korean-style fried chicken sandwich a 6 out of 10. Yeah, it's barely okay, but it needs some work. And that's all that I have for you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm your host, The Report of the Week.